Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming at you live from episode 94 of Life on the Rocks with your host, Connor Rocques. Today's featured guest in the hot seat is Mr. Zach Cahill. How you doing today, brother?
I'm ready to rock, bud.
Ready to rock? I love it. We're bringing the energy to the city of Greater Sudbury. This gentleman is the owner of Rentlivone. It's a real estate company in the city of Greater Sudbury. Zach, I want to start this off like I always do. What got you started in business, my friend?
Yeah, for sure. So, started in business, honestly. Right now, I still work a full-time paramedic job. So, I started this business at work to, one day hopefully transition into just being full-time in business.
100%.
Yeah.
Talk about your business. So what is Rentlivone for the audience out there?
So Rentlivone, very unique company. So I started Rentlivone to essentially help more families own homes in Sudbury. So I've been noticing, over the years how the mortgage rules have been changing, more people not being able to get financing, as well with that, people just not having like maybe the education and knowing what credit is and how to improve it. So, our company is designed to help people. Not just with credit problems, but anybody that can't get a mortgage, whether it's new job or self-employment, to essentially get into that home barrier, right? You see with the real estate prices kind of skyrocketing the way they are, people are getting priced out of the market, right? As each year the prices are going up.
Totally. So talk about that concept. So it's basically, how does this work? Like, so you rent it.
Yeah.
It sounds just like the name. Rent. You rent it. You live in it for a while, and then you're gonna work towards owning it.
Exactly.
So talk about that.
Put that together. So So the first step that we would do is we would look at the client. We would I work with a mortgage broker. I work with a few mortgage brokers. So we would look at the client and see where they're at and why they can't qualify for a mortgage. So typically at that point, these are people that are still working, they have a job, they have, some savings to put towards the home as a down payment, but there's just some barrier that they can't get a mortgage. So instead of them waiting, let's say, 1, 2, or 3 years before they can get a mortgage and having to pay like Sudbury's ridiculous rent prices right now, they can kind of come on our program. So what that entails is once they're approved, we will actually buy the house for the client. So they go out, they house shop with a real estate agent just like they normally would. This buying experience is like exactly the same, except it's just our company and our investors that are purchasing the home for the clients. They're basically at that point like living in the home like it's their own for the 2 or 3 years, and then at that point, once they're ready to get their own mortgage, they're buying the house back from our company.
That's huge. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you really think about it too, where it's like if you're going to go throw money away at rent anyway, where at least this process at least gets you the home that you want to and you get to move into it, even though it's a longer process. I think that's the new age right there. That is rather than having to go in and get stuck with a landlord just putting money in his pocket. What have been some of the things for you? So how long have you been in business now? Like how long have you been doing this?
Yeah, so I started Rentlivone in the end of 2017.
Nice.
So it's been, a few years. Initially when I brought the concept to Sudbury, because this is, this concept is being executed by, bigger companies all over Canada.
Right.
Even in Sudbury, there's other companies, right? So, from that perspective, I started Rentlivone because there was no one specifically in Sudbury, right? Like, doing it.
That's one of the ways.
Yeah.
What do you think? So if someone myself, let's say I don't have a home and I'm just, again, like could be a family, could be just a normal bachelor, I have only, 5-10 grand to put down. Like how do I walk me through the process? Like what do I have to do? So I meet with you, you're like an agent, and then you're going to say, okay, do you have a house specific you want? Like walk me through that because I'm actually interested, like for people out there that, again, don't qualify. Maybe their credit score, everybody has a blip in credit at some point or something bad can happen because of life's misfortunes. Talk to me about that because I want people to know that there is other avenues right now if you are looking to get a house.
Yeah, exactly. So how our whole process works, because there is a lot of interest, right? So we do have like a brief application on our website, or it can be emailed to you as well. And after you're completing that application, you'll be able to book a discovery call directly with myself or one of my associates to essentially, talk more about our program and if it makes sense for you. And then after that call, if that looks good, that's when we would get into collecting more of the documents and reviewing everything, right?
Oh no, that's huge. That's awesome. Yeah. And so I want to back it up for a second again. I want to get some more context here. So again, it's pretty awesome to see that you're full-time, you work full-time as well as now you're an entrepreneur. And then it's one of those things that takes a lot. And how does being a paramedic play into your entrepreneurial skill? Because again, it's a different mindset where as an entrepreneur, you're coming up with solutions, helping people for a living, whereas a paramedic, you're saving lives. So talk about how that contributed to your career in business now.
Yeah, like that's a really good question. So, even during school when I was trying to pick that career choice, it was very, very difficult for me. Like I definitely have a passion for, helping people and have that entrepreneur mindset. So it's difficult for me to like choose, like kind of a profession to begin with. So paramedics seem, really exciting and helping people and, saving lives if that happens. But, it's been a really good like experience on that side of things. And I'm really it's kind of been driving me more of that, to transition, right? Because it was pretty quick. I got that full-time paramedic job, so I think a lot of people might have just kind of sat in there and enjoyed it, but I just really have a passion for Rentlivone and trying to transition into it full-time.
Absolutely, because you look at any, and again, not talking vain, but you look at any of the kind of the richest people in the world, they all own real estate. Like if you look at McDonald's, we use an example, McDonald's, everyone thinks they're a burger joint, but they own the top real estate in the country. Anywhere you go, you fly into Saudi Arabia, it's right there in the airport.
Yeah.
So talk about
100%.
the concept behind that. Like, what would you say to somebody that wants to get into real estate, but they have all this fear and all these things? So in using your concept, because I think it's great, like personally, and I'm just telling you that I think the concept, especially for somebody that kind of wants to get their feet wet, they don't want to pay rent, even though they will pay rent, but it's contributing to something. Like, talk about that. What would be your advice be to the first-time home buyer?
Yeah, so first-time home buyer, that's honestly, my real advice would probably be to look, like if you could stand, maybe even getting something with an in-law suite or a duplex to look for something like that, because in our program, like your rent payments would still be the same whether it had 2 units or 1 unit, right? So that'd be a good way to like, the best way to get involved in real estate if you could is to do like house hacking, like living for free, right? That's like cutting your biggest expense right out of the gate. So doing something like that, I got a client right now that's working on a triplex with us, like that he wants to rent out. So you can get creative with it. But again, there's a lot of, we have like a couple houses that are duplexes. The majority are single family homes, right? Because a lot of people don't want those renters. But again, that would, it's almost just like locking in the price of the home, right? So you're not going to get priced out of the market. Those houses that we bought in 2017 are now in 2018 are now being sold back, and our clients are gaining anywhere from $40,000 to like $80,000 in equity.
That's huge.
And it creates that win-win solution. Our clients are winning, our company's winning, and our investors that purchase the homes are also winning because they're selling the houses, getting their funds back. So
100%.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, so this is not so much a personal question, but just for the people out there that maybe don't have the best credit score, like generally what do you have to see on paper? And again, don't let this deter you. So let's say you have a lower credit score. Don't let that deter you because you still can apply. Like what kind of credit scores do you need to see in income level, like as a general? It's got to be, $30K a year and at least a score of 550. Like talk to me about that. Again, this is open to discretion.
Yeah, for sure. So as far as the income level, typically like 30 to 40,000 would be definitely on the lower end. But we have done houses like that, just lower price homes, maybe around 150,000 or maybe a little bit
Huge.
less. Another, so that's the income, and you also are going to have like some sort of employment, right?
Of course.
Unfortunately, the mortgage lenders, they don't, they really want to see some sort of employment. If you're like new and self-employed, that would work as well. Besides the employment, we're looking for savings. Anywhere, typically usually around like $7,500 to $10,000 is usually where we're at for like the initial down payment, and that money is going 100% towards the home. So it's not like it's a fee or anything like that. It's just we work with clients that are financially invested in the house and emotionally invested in the house, right? Because they are picking their home and putting the money in. That's why I've been able to have almost 20 houses in Sudbury with not one defaulter, no one moving out of their house, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your process. Like, do you get some fear sometimes when you buy a house that maybe there could be things that break down? Like, that's another concern that people have of owning a house, even though, you own it.
Yeah.
But then you hear about the hot water tank kicking out or whatever it could be, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So the homes that like, I like to work with like, a few of realtors because we really want our clients to pick homes that don't need anything major doing to them. Like that's just really important. All the homes are getting like property inspected, so we're looking at the roof, we're looking at obviously the foundation. If there's any issues with that, like we're definitely out. like all the plumbing and the electrical must be, you know, like somewhat updated. So if there does come up like, you know, renovations in the future or, you know, maintenance, it is on our clients, right? Our future homeowners that are in the house. So we need to make sure that the big ticket items are covered, right?
100%. That's the last thing. Somebody wants to go in, you do a deal, and then the roof's out. You know, you never know, but that's good to know, and it's good that you do your due diligence as a company to protect your people you bring into those homes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to give us some context. So again, you said did you always believe that you had that entrepreneurial spark inside you, or was it one of those things that you just saw it as you want to create your own kind of living? Like, talk to me about that. I think it's important.
Honestly, like what really kind of flicked the switch is more actually when I actually got my paramedic job. And at this, like I'm still working there now, but at the time it was like in more north in Sudbury in northern Ontario. So I wasn't doing a lot of calls, like a lot of action, basically. And a coworker had introduced me to like a book, and I'm sure you probably know which one it is. But
which one?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, of course, of
and,
course.
From that point, it was kind of like a switch in my brain. I was like, you know, I could actually build something if I just put my mind to it and focused, right? So I've always kind of been, you know, I guess competitive with sports and things like that. But now I just kind of had that shift, and I guess it's more for, you know, I really am looking at that freedom of time and.
Totally. And that's what people get the wrong idea where they think it's about money. It's about the freedom and the lifestyle. I think that's what I'm all about on that side. And for anybody that kind of wants a brief on Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it talks about how, you know, liabilities take money out of your pocket and assets put money into your pocket. So get the things that put money into your pocket. It's a really good story. Check it out. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. That one changed my life as well. I was in my criminal law class in school and I was reading that book. Just law wasn't for me. Sorry. But to get that context though. But so I want to talk about something, switch gears again. So I go into mentality. I'm really big on mindset. And it sounds like a cliche word, but I'm really big on attitude and mindset, especially when we hire. Talk about, so I mean, being a paramedic, I mean, you're faced with some adversity. You get to see some things that people in society and culture might not see. What are some of the things that you do maybe to overcome that situation? And if there's panic going around, help people walk through that situation?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess one thing about me is I've always been like, you know, very calm. So that's like, you know, when stuff is going a mile a minute, I kind of don't get all excited and my brain doesn't really get affected. Right. And I mean, I think I can even go back to working in like a kitchen. Right. That was kind of like I used to work on the food industry like, a lot, and it used to be so busy, like, you know, and I was like making food and pasta, whatever, pizzas. So maybe it's just kind of built in me, but I don't know, I can kind of just focus and stay focused, and it's helping me in business as well, right?
It will too, because that's the thing is like you get into a heated boardroom and people start throwing shots and fire, and it's I just wonder because, you know, you see people like to say that business, in a lot of ways, it's business. There shouldn't be emotion attached to it, but, you know, run a company and then you're sitting there and something happens with your staff or a client or whatever. Try not to get emotional in a way, you know, in some ways. And again, it's a skill. You try to look at it from as much logic, but I think that's a really good skill, being able to go on to the front line and get to see it from there. So then when you get into those situations, you're calm, you assess it and move forward. I want to ask you something because this is interesting to me just as a general. I think the audience would like this. What are some of the things they teach you as a paramedic to kind of overcome that stress in those chaotic situations? Is there a specific training or techniques they use?
I think like when I was like learning in school, basically, I think it was more just kind of like building habits and like repetition so that when something's happened, you have like a system to follow.
Totally.
Like that's like got to be the number one. Just, you know, we'd have like, whether it was like a primary survey of a, you know, patient or a secondary survey, and then, you know, having different like acronyms for, you know, different types of things. So
totally,
definitely having that.
A strong system in the repetition.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the baseline in training for anything. I look at, like, a lot of people think that you'll step into this moment one day where it's like the mother lifts the car over her head. And I mean, 99% of the time, let's be honest, you get what you've trained for. And like the top people in the Army, the Navy SEALs, it's like these guys have trained situations, chaos, whatever. The astronauts, as an example. Okay, so I like that. So, and I always say constant repetition is the baseline for anything, right? That's the habit formulation.
Yeah, and then evolved with it, like in our training as well. It's you know, one of the things, again, really important. Like towards the end of it, you're working with like a preceptor, which is, you know, another paramedic, you know, that's been in the field. So I was lucky enough to have, you know, a really fantastic preceptor that threw me to the wolves on day one.
I like it. That's a good mentor.
So I guess mentors are key as well, right? Even in
huge.
Yeah.
What about, so I want to switch gears into some of these last questions which are important, is talking about the education system. So again, you said you were inspired how to break through because of Robert Kiyosaki's book, right? Mm-hmm. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Big thing for me is, I get it. You want to be a lawyer, accountant, doctor, engineer, like your main four. You got to go get a university education. How do you feel about that? If you want to become an entrepreneur, from what you've experienced going to school and now being in the field, do you think you need to go have a degree to be successful, or do you think that with the digital era that you're able to step out of yourself and actually start a business with your phone?
Yeah.
What do you think? It's a loaded question.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with what you're saying. So like, I don't really think that, the school is really necessary anymore, to be honest. Like, it really just depends what, like, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, right? But for the real entrepreneur that, wants to start something, if you're going to school, you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's another book by Robert Kiyosaki called Fake.
Yeah.
So, if you're learning by teachers that actually haven't done it, you might be learning by, like, some more fake teachers, in my opinion.
Totally.
So, yeah, so as far as entrepreneurship, like real estate investing, or like you can't really go to school. I still do take, courses and constantly educate myself, but it's not like, it's not in like the education system.
100%.
Like, yeah.
Well, and the biggest thing too, and I always like to, and again, I'm not knocking teachers, I'm not knocking university, but I mean, let's say you do 4 years, right? It's like $40K minimum, right? In Sudbury, you go to the US, you're paying hundreds, right?
Yeah, I know.
What's the return on investment of that, especially if you don't have a plan? So my biggest thing is going back to the high schools and saying, like, they like to walk us through and say, you have to go to university. It's like, but then you got these kids going to college, making a fortune. So it's one of those things where I would say, and I think you can agree, a lot of people, you'll hear it online, it's like, follow your passion, or, do what works. But at the end of the day, I'm a big believer in energy. You want to, like, not that yoga stuff here, I'm just joking. But I'm a big believer in energy, like being able to do something that gets you excited every day. And I think it's important, but with that, you're going to eat crap. That happens, like, as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you a believer in following your passion to be successful, or do you think there's another way?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a loaded question.
Another one. I like those.
It's tough because I don't really know if I believe in, like, follow what you love, or like, follow your passion. Good. But I definitely like what you said. I haven't really heard that before. Just following your energy. I think that's like, really key, important. So, for me, I think I might be kind of following your philosophy of following, my energy. I think my energy is definitely in, real estate. It's not in my, job, or in the classroom at, school, or continuing education. As well with that, I just kind of feel trapped too, like at a job and things like that. I just can't picture myself, working for somebody else.
It's that mentality too, and it's, again, not knocking anybody that works for a company. It's just some of us are not designed for that. We're designed to be creators.
Yeah.
And you want to build your own lifestyle. Like, again, I worked at the bank for years. It just, again, I was good. I could be managed. I was managed, but I was better off on my own on that side. I just thrived. And the big thing with the energy philosophy is that, like, you look at it, so everyone's like, well, Connor, if you don't slow down, or if they tell people you might burn out, and I make the joke from Grant Cardone, I'm not a candle, it's okay. I follow what I love,
Yeah.
But literally, that energy is that excitement, and it gets that creative juice flowing in your body and your soul, and engages. I want to ask you a question, because he is one of my favorite mentors, Tony Robbins. Yeah. Have you followed anything by Tony, or studied anything under him?
Honestly, I've studied under him. Like, I haven't been to his, like, events or anything like that, but I've read some of his. And honestly, what I also used to listen to a guy called Jim Rohn.
Rohn, his mentor.
Exactly. So that was basically following after reading Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, because you kind of have to upgrade. You have to upgrade yourself to get to that next level, right?
100%. So one of my final questions I want to lead off with, and again, I like talking about Tony just because he's got the energy, he's got the vibe, he talks about, it's not just this motivational stuff, it's engaging your whole physiology. And I practice it every day. I take the cold shower after, I take a warm one, and just psych myself up in a positive way. But I want to close this off. If you were to look back into your career, you look at your life, so now you're doing real estate, you became a paramedic, you were not a hockey player, but you were an athlete. I don't know if you're a hockey player, but athlete in general. What would you say to that younger self, that somebody maybe is poking at them and saying, you can't do that. Don't go after your dream. Maybe get a real job, as they say. What would you say to yourself in that moment?
Yeah, no, honestly, I would just maybe tell myself, take a step back and not rush into anything, like 100%.
100%.
100%, yeah. If even that made like taking off like whatever a few years of school, or like obviously after graduating, high school, but maybe not rush into any university or college.
100%.
Yeah. Because I feel like your brain's not even might not even be developed to make that decision. That you're making a commitment to 6 or 7 years of school, or
and then you're signing a loan and you don't even know what's going on. Your dad says sign the loan. You got your OSAV loan and you're like, I don't even like going to med school or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so Zach, I want to close this off on a positive note. So talking about your company, we're just going to finish this off. So Rentlivone, anybody out there right now that doesn't think they can get approved for a mortgage, he has an unconventional system that he has developed, one of the leading people in Sudbury that does this. What would you like to say to those people that maybe, they're on the fence, they don't want to rent anymore and give a landlord money? What do you say to those people?
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's have a conversation. Doesn't hurt to get, have a conversation. Honestly, what we've even done for some clients, if they're on the fence of, working at the numbers, should I rent for a year or should I buy? Should I rent for 2 years? Should I buy? We can, do that side-by-side comparison. And, we can break it down financially to actually look at, the numbers. Because typically on our program, you're going to be saving a significant amount of money, especially 100%. If you're renting like a full house, right, in Sudbury.
And that's huge. Where can we find you? So we're going to put your website here. We're going to put a link. Is it rentlivone.ca?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, rentlivone.ca.
Rentlivone.ca. And guys, if you want to get in contact with Zach, is Facebook, Instagram, anywhere preferable for you?
Yeah, Facebook is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and like you can reach out to us on Rentlivone on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever you guys need to.
Awesome, Zach. It's been an absolute pleasure. Guys, if you're looking to get a mortgage from an unconventional gentleman here that's killing it in the market, give this guy a call. Thank you for your time, Zach, honestly.
Thanks, Connor.